Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com. In this tutorial we're going to look at how you set list or set parameter arguments or properties or constructor arguments in Spring. So I've got an application here, and as usual I've created an application context and I'm closing it here, and in between I retrieve a bean from the context of the type fruit basket, which is a class I've created, and I'm just displaying it on the next line here. And if we look at fruit basket, the twist is it's a very simple class with a simple two-string method, but the twist is that one of the parameters to the constructor here is a list of strings instead of just being a plain string or a plain integer or something. So the question is, how can we set that? And what I'm about to show you applies equally well to properties. So I've chosen to demonstrate this using a constructor argument, but if you had a set method, then this would apply just the same. So if we look at the beans.xml, I've defined a bean, but I haven't supplied the arguments to the constructor yet, so this will just crash if I run it, and it's of type fruit basket here. Let's go to the beans tab. So to supply the first constructor argument, which is a simple string, that's very easy, and we know how to do that already. So I'll right click my bean here, go to insert constructor arg, and let's just give it a value of, let's say, John's John's basket, John's fruit basket. So there we go. And I'll do that again. I'll right click the basket and go to insert constructor arg, and now we have to do something a bit different, because this constructor arg should be a list of strings, and we're going to just give it a list of fruit names. And to do that, it's about as simple as it could be, really. All we have to do is right click this and go to insert list element, and then I'll right click the list element and go to insert value and save that. Now I'm not quite sure why when I select this value tag I don't get the opportunity here to specify a actual value for it, like a string. So I'm just going to do the next bit by hand, and it's always good to keep an eye on the XML anyway, so you know what's going on. Let's go to the source here. So we see here's our first constructor argument. In fact, I'll just format that with Command-Shift-F on the Mac or Control-Shift-F on Windows. Let's click in here, and there we go. It's not made a huge difference, but always good to keep it formatted nicely. So the first value is very straightforward. We've seen how to do that before. And then the second argument here, or this could be the value of a property if you had a set method, is it contains this list opening and closing tag. And within that we can put value tags. And within each value tag we can type something like, for example, apple, if we want the name of a fruit. And of course we can have multiple ones of these values because it's a list. So let's just copy that and paste in a few more fruits here. I'll use the format facility, and I'll have banana, orange, kiwi and pear. And if I run that now, we see this is from the toString method. We see that I've successfully supplied a list of things to this second constructor argument here. So that's pretty straightforward. You couldn't really imagine a simpler way of doing it, I don't think. There's just one interesting thing that I want to mention here. We've got not only a list tag that we can use, but there's also a set tag. And you might think that if this is some sort of list type that implements the list interface, or in this case I've actually used the list interface as the actual type of the parameter, you might think if it's a kind of list we have to use a list here, and if it's a kind of set then we'd have to use a set here. But in fact we can use them interchangeably. So here I could type set, open set and close set there, and if I run this it still works fine. The difference is, let's have a look at what happens if we have a duplicate value. Let's copy orange and paste it down here. If I'm using the set tag and I run this, we've now not got a duplicate orange in this list, even though this is a list type. So the fact that I've used this set subtag of the constructor arg here means that Spring has weeded out multiple values for me. Whereas if I have list in here, like this, and I run that, then of course it will allow multiple values. And similarly, in the same way that I could use list or set to set the values of a list, if this is a set, I could use either list or set here, so they don't have to correspond. It's just a question of whether you want Spring to weed out duplicates for you with a set or not. That's it for this tutorial, and until next time, happy coding.